Hi, this is the Busy People's podcast. This is my boy Gershie, meisel, and we're gonna just have a conversation like we do every week. The Busy People podcast. So, Gershie, give me a little about your upbringing and your family.
How's it going? Gershie meisel. Grew up in Los Angeles, California, and I was there till I was about 17, and grew up in a mixed hashkafa type of family. It wasn't really mixed hashkafa. There was two different major influences in my life. One of them was the modern Orthodox Dati Leumi, pro-Zionist side, and then there was my dad's Baal Tshuva through Chabad, so I grew up in a Lubavitch shtiebel as well. And the two of them together played a big role in the kind of like, raising me to be someone who's inspired, spiritual, always wanting to grow, but with like a very broad spectrum of hashkafas.
So, what does Chabad mean to you from your childhood? Obviously, it seems, from what I understand, Chabad and Lubavitch, from your dad being Baalei Tshuva, what did that mean from you as 5, 10, 15 years?
So it means something different to me now than it did then. It was always something special. I'd say on a practical level. So I went to regular co-ed modern Orthodox high schools, but I also grew up in a shtiebel where it was very Hasidish in flavor. Rabbi Schusterman of LA is a phenomenal Rav, and there was always passion about it. My minhagei tefillah were Chabad. Did a lot of learning Hasidus. But at the same time, I was, I was going to Hesder Yeshiva for post high school. Went to Shalhavet. Had friends that were guys, friends that were girls. It was kind of like a very interesting mix. Went to Mosheva for what's it called, for camp. But as far as the Lubavitch influence, I always felt like I had a real connection to Chassidus. It was I considered myself a Chassid. Wore tefillin and wore davened with the Tilas Hashem, but I did it in kind of my own way,
And can you give me a little about your childhood? I'm just curious to learn. Obviously, I see how you have the yeshivish, chassidish, how you raise your children. From what I see, just being at your own Shabbos table and knowing you for a bunch of years now, what do your parents raise you as a Baalei Tshuva, but mixture, from what I understand? Can you give me a little about that?
Yeah, I can tell you more. So I don't know if I would. The yeshivish side of me actually came much later. That came at a different stage in my life. I was always serious about learning, and I think I gained that from a couple of really special rabbeim in high school. One's name was Rabbi Ron Jawari, who was massive Talmid Chacham, very quiet, but just to give you an idea of his mind, at some point in his life he memorized 5 out of 6 Siddurim with Vishnayos Baal Peh. Can you imagine? He came to school once, and it really bothered him because when he would go to bed, he would go through 2 prakim of Vishnayos in his head by heart, and before he got out of bed, he'd also go through 2 prakim of Vishnayos. And it bothered him because I think he had gone to sleep in Psachim and woke up in Yuma. He didn't know why. Or one day he came back from the dentist's office, and I remember I can picture it where he said you can just sit somewhere and be bored and just kind of like that, or he's I was in the dentist chair and I went through 4 prakim of Mishnayos in my head, and I thought that was incredible. He was an amazing Bal Midos also. And so there were rabbanim in my high school who really inspired me to get into my learning.
And that was in LA.
That was in LA, and that was in a co-ed high school. With lots of kids who were kids who were Orthodox, kids who were conservative, kids who were atheists, all of them mixed together. It was a very special mix.
And you have a relationship with any of them till today?
Yeah, still connected with a number of them. It's it depends on my stage in life and where I'm living, but I'm still connected.
Because I was having a DMC with a kid who's 14 years old over Pesach. It's time this 14-year-old, I said, there's going to be only a few people when you're 20, 30, 40 that you're going to matter in your life.
Okay.
Finding your journey with God is more important, in my opinion, than your friends as elementary or high school.
I think it's a very real thing. I think a lot of teens in their moments in life, and I've considerable experience with teens, as you know. I've did NC Swy for 20 years, as in staff. as a staff member. But in their high school years, they're so zoned in to their social sphere. They can play a very, very dangerous influence, also a positive one. But a lot of times it's like you're so hooked in that you wind up not discovering yourself because you spend so much time being their friend as opposed to who you want to be. 100%.
Can you give me a little bit of your journey of NCSY, if I can ask you personally, as a brother and friend? Tell me where it started. How did you get there? And obviously, you didn't just end up there. Were you doing many other jobs in your young life? Give me a little about your work history. Okay, so you're a child now. I'm just trying to learn about you.
Sure.
So you're 5, 10, 15 years old in LA. And LA is a very, I guess, workaholic place.
Depends on who, but yeah.
Who or the city?
As a city, it's actually wild. Like you walk around, and in the middle of the afternoon, people are everywhere, out to lunch, sitting, chilling, and a lot of people are like, "How do people live here? You need millions of dollars. Like, who's working?" It's weird. It's actually the opposite. I actually never saw LA as a workaholic place, But there are definitely people who work there, make nice parnasa. But I don't see it that way, actually.
Okay, so give me a little about your journey, if I can ask you.
Sure. So it's interesting. Like the first time that I really, I think, tasted in a real way like a chush, like an interest in inspiring youth, maybe as an educator, started in my B'nai Akiva days. I was a madrich and for SNF in B'nai Akiva, like good storyteller, and like during that time. So like I got to a point where in high school, I found that I was a lot more religious than a lot of my friends. There were definitely kids who were more religious than me in high school, but for the most part, I was definitely on the like further to the on the firmer side, let's say, and I really enjoyed being in a space where I can teach kids, where I can inspire them. When I was in high school, I think I was more obnoxious about it. Looking back, like I thought I was being like all inspiring and kind and all that, and sometimes I was, and sometimes I was being, like forcing it too much for sure. But it definitely, but there were people who responded to it positively and loved Yiddishkeit more as a result of it, and that was exciting to me. And so I had first tried doing that in the B'nai Akiva space. Moshva Wild Rose was the camp that I went to, and when I was in MIT, Madrich and training, the CITU. So I had probably the best summer I had ever had in camp at that point, because I was in the position to inspire and to connect with other kids, in a way that I was teaching them, and that like kind of ignited my passion for it. And then for years, I would, as a madrich or like as a Rosh, never Rosh Mosh, but like Rosh on the Hill, that's like a high school program and things like this. I really had the opportunity to inspire kids, and I loved it.
So you went from B'nai Akiva, you're doing this camp thing,
right?
And then what was your next thing?
So while that was happening, when I came back from Israel, and I landed in YU. So I had a roommate who I was very close to from my years in Shalvim, and his name was Jeremy Donath. He's a rabbi in Fairlawn. He's the rock star. Probably my best friend. And yeah, I can confidently say that, my best friend. And we he had been involved in Midwest NCSY as a teen. He was on the board and everything, and he, like Rabbi Greenland, who at the time was the regional director of Midwest, now he's the national director at NCSY International. But at the time he was the regional director. He was in town, and Jeremy invited me. He's like, "Why don't you come interview to be an advisor?" Went out on Shabbaton, that was it. And I saw that all the things that I wanted to do, was inspired to do in B'nai Akiva and Mosheva, which was meaningful to me. NCSY was literally built with that mission.
Yeah, right? But I have like a little confusion here. Your dad's this construction guy.
Okay.
He's
a businessman.
He's a businessman.
He wasn't in construction at the time.
Okay, he was in business, man.
Okay.
Because you've told me different stories about it. And you obviously had some upbringing in business. And you end up doing this NCSY thing. What was the back end of the business side? Because you had a passion of it as you were doing this camp or Bnei Akiva. On the other hand, there was a job for you. So like, where did that go for you?
I think honestly, I think I was a little bit irresponsible in my career considerations. And when I say that, what I mean by that is that like I came with the perspective it'll work, and yes, like from a bitachon standpoint, that's absolutely appropriate. But I also am a believer that there's a certain level of ishtadlus and responsibility you're supposed to take. But when I was there, I kind of just was following this like passion of like I saw people in careers in NCSY. I'm like, I want to do that, and I could do that, and I make parnasa that way. And so like I joke that I majored in psychology, I minored in psychology and majored in NCSY. I spent so much time at Shabbatons like throughout the year and was completely immersed in it. So even while I was I made dean's list in YU. I was very serious with my studies, for a certain amount of time. And my learning was very, very immersed. But I was so focused on the teens and helping to inspire them, and and going on Shabbatons and staying connected and learning with kids and things like that. It just it almost became like encompassing for me, and like it was like in some ways I felt like the Shabbatons were giving me the chizuk during my time back in the base medrash, with learning and steiging and pushing, and then I'd go back on a Shabbaton, and I was like, the way I was watching the teens getting inspired, I was getting inspired, and it was pushing me forward, and I loved it. And at some point, it was like I remember having 5 or 6 weeks in a row, Shabbaton, and then I'm like, whoa, that's a little much. Like I had to take a break in between. But it just so like from I wasn't really thinking so much about career, except for that I saw that people can make a career there.
Right. So, but you were passionate about this thing. You said you're doing 5-6 weeks in a row.
Just as an example of being in a shop, imagine being in a full-time college. Well, like meaning from like the way that mornings go to work. You wake up, you learn, you have shir at 3:00. You start classes. You're done at 8. Go back to base medrash and at night seder, and you're doing this every single day. And then in between, on the weekends when you're supposed to be doing your homework, you're also flying out for Shabbatons, back and forth. It's exhausting,
Yeah. So like, where did the business? Obviously, when I met you a year or two ago, and I talked to you.
Oh, that's later in the story. If you want, I can jump in there now. But
no, I want the beginning. I want to know where.
Yeah.
So now you're burnt out. You did 5-6 weeks in a row. And what happens to you?
No, so then I just realized I needed a Shabbos or 2 break, and then you get back into it. That was it. I just realized I had to pace myself a little bit more.
How many years did you do the pacing?
No, that was just an example of a Shabbos. I would say with regards to pacing, it was just an awareness that stay involved, but you have to make sure that you can also keep up with learning and keeping up with
you got a college degree.
Yeah.
What do you got?
My college degree was in psychology with YU, and then in Loyola I did over 2 summers. There was a master's in school administration. There was a program called Jelly that lives in Chicago for about 10 years. I got to be part of the last cohort, and over 2 summers you can get a master's in school administration.
But I'm saying is, so you have a master's and psychology degree, and what did that teach you for learning with men and women? What did it teach you for dealing with people when you're dealing with this NCSY? And I've seen you, even with Johnny Uzan, and I feel like you're similar personalities. What did that teach you to talk to men and women?
You're saying I mean in school it was all guys. It wasn't co-ed.
Okay, but I'm saying is co-ed.
I went to co-ed in high school. I knew how to talk to people. It wasn't like a new thing for me. Yes, when I was getting more serious in yeshiva times, I wasn't hanging out with girls anymore. But it wasn't like a foreign thing. I also have a twin sister. So the idea of there were girls in my house all the time. So it wasn't. They're people.
So what's your knowledge and people skills that you would say that you learned from psychology and dealing with teens?
Okay, so I don't think I got. I was hoping that I would gain that from psychology, but I don't think I did.
Okay, so what did you gain from? If you to look back now, you're older, you're smarter. If you're gonna speak to someone else who's teaching like a Reb Chaim Abadi, somebody who's just involved with teenagers, men and women are struggling.
What career would I suggest?
No, what would you, in the weeds, somebody who's within the weeds,
Okay.
what experience did you gain from NCSY that you would give Louis or somebody that's just trying to help men and women?
Okay, I understand your question. So I mean, I think I learned everything from NCSY for years about so many different things. Like in my earlier years of the career. So like it's an amazing place because you have an opportunity to do huge things. You're learning how to speak to people, build relationships. You're learning how to strike the balance of like, if all you're doing is trying to get a person to do a mitzvah to become from, like then you're not really being a good friend either. Like you're not getting to like, so you learn how to get to know people, understand them, connect with them, inspire them. There are opportunities to teach, right? Like as an advisor, there'd be advisor sessions. So there's times that I got to hone my speaking skills. As things progressed a little. So then if you're an advisor who's like, I guess a little bit more elite or like, on the stronger side, so then you get invited to fly out to for mini Shabbatons in different cities. So like St. Louis was one of the ones that I wound up working in, but I was flown out there several times to be an advisor on mini Shabbatons. So then you're also helping with logistics of Shabbatons as well, and and so like you're learning some of the other sides of like how to make something happen and how like some of the details of an event, and it's all of a sudden talking about budget a little bit and thinking a little bit of bigger picture of like the chapter running and the chapter success, and not just an individual kid, but how like an event really has to be run well in order for it to help move everyone forward. Then like other things that I started picking up from NCSY is like once I started working for NCSY, so I moved to St. Louis. That was my first professional gig. I take that back. That wasn't, but my first like real immersion, I guess, into full-time NCSY was in St. Louis. I did that for 3 years. So it was a completely different experience because then I was working with public school kids and JSU clubs, and then I was also running events at night. So I was learning about PR and marketing. I was running a chapter board, so I had to learn about leadership. I had to learn about leveraging people. I had to build relationships with parents. I had to learn how to talk to adults. I had to learn about accountability. Like if you say that an event's happening and it doesn't, or like kids don't show up, like that's a problem. Like if you have this really exciting event that you invest all this time in, and all of a sudden it's like raining, and then you have to cancel an event, or like a consideration. Well, there's you're having a paintball event, but there's lightning outside, so it's like, all these kids are really excited about it, but you have to make a responsible decision. There are all these different like small nuances or factors of things that you're picking up on and gaining and growing from. And then there were fundraising events. Like I wasn't on the fundraising side, but I had to be aware of it, and I had to know how to talk to a donor and help them, or go up to a parent and say, hey, your kid is an amazing leader in Ladue High School, and I think she's going places, things like that. Just like to help understand that balance that that any Jewish organization, you're living within a very large framework. It's the mission. It's the people who are involved in the mission. It's the people supporting the mission. It's the naysayers against the mission. I remember a really uncomfortable conversation. There was someone from my past who I guess perceived that I wasn't being friendly to B'nai Akiva, and I thought that I was being very friendly to B'nai Akiva, and they kind of came up to me and kind of called me on it. Can we make peace with them? I'm like, we do have it. And it was someone who came from out of town who was all of a sudden trying to call me on it, and it was a little bit uncomfortable because I'm very passionate about the B'nai Akiva mission, and the idea of raising modern Orthodox kids to have Aliyah in sight and Kedushas Haaretz being important. I think that if you don't inculcate that into a modern Orthodox education, there's something chassid, there's something missing,
What's the difference between B'nai Akiva and, let's just say, NCSY?
I mean, they're extremely different. Their missions are different, right? B'nai Akiva's mission is to inspire kids, religious Zionists, to make Aliyah.
And then NCSY is...
And even that, by the way, is not fair. It's narrowing it. It's raising kids to be passionate about the land of Israel and about the entire world of that hashkafa, and it's quite broad actually, but it's very, very specific. NCSY's goal is very different. NCSY's goal is to help Jewish teenagers move forward in their Yiddishkeit from wherever they're at. Like if you have a modern Orthodox kid, so like
what's the different, like what is Zucker now? Like I see Zucker is coming to Houston.
Let's table that for 1 second. I just want to help you understand. So let's say with NCSY, so if there's a public school kid, their step forward, might be just being more proud about being Jewish, or doing one mitzvah, or showing up to their rabbi's house to drop off the Shalom report, right? Versus like a modern Orthodox kid or a yeshivish kid. I had the yeshivish kids who were involved with NCSY also.
I mean, I've gone to like a random thing. It's an event, and if you fit into it's like a group event, like any group event. Either you vibe with those people, or you don't, right?
Right, but my point is, you're asking me what's the difference. So the goals are very different. The focuses are different, but they're both very special organizations doing different things.
Okay, and what would you say with some of the pros and cons in your personal experience? Because I'm just curious to learn. What was your personal pros and cons, if you could look back in the whole experience?
Of what?
Oh, like how you were running the chapters, how they treated you as a human. What made you want to leave? What made you?
Oh, when I decided to leave at CSY.
Yeah.
So you need to get there yet, but
or you want to walk me through? Why don't you walk me through the whole journey?
Yeah, I'll walk you a little bit for we're closer to that point. What happened in my NCSY story was, after being a chapter advisor, so I had actually decided I wanted to go back and learn a little bit longer. So there was thank God, there was an opportunity that opened up in Chicago to join the YU Torah Mitzvah Kollel for 2 years, and it was very neat because I got to fully immerse in learning again. And I was able to do that while also keeping a portfolio, with the YU Torah Mitzvah Kollel. So they're involved in lots of different organizations in Chicago. So it's almost like each Kollel fellow kind of would have a portfolio of organizations that they were involved in. And so I grabbed NCSY for sure, because I had a Havamina that I would go back, and so during my years there, when I was getting towards the end of my learning time, so I was looking at lots of different jobs, opportunities to be potentially like an educator or a mashgiach in a high school, or to be an assistant rabbi of a big shul. And then, Micha Greenland, who was the international director at that point, I kind of reached out to him. I said, "Do you mind if we sit down?" And there was a job that was opening up, and I said, "I'd really like to put my hat in the ring for that." And he said, "You certainly could." But I actually had a different conversation. What do you think about Houston? So what? He said, "So we're looking for a regional director," and for me that was very exciting, because the regional director position is kind of like the dream when you're in NCSY, because you start, with chapter directors, and there's lots and lots of chapters and lots of talented people there. And city directors and things like that, and the opportunity to become a regional director doesn't open up every day. Now is a little bit different, because the expansiveness of the organization and the fact that it's harder and harder to get people to want to move out of town, so opportunities might come up a little bit more. But big adol, it's actually pretty hard to be able to land that. And the fact that it was that door was being opened for me was huge. And came out to Houston. It was a shidduch, and I basically I was filling the shoes of someone who you never want to be able to have to fill his shoes. Rabbi Yisrael Ashak is a big Talmid Chacham, a world-class speaker, huge. He got to a point with the OU where he was speaking, I don't know, hundreds of days a year, maybe even 200 days a year, or not being home. So it wasn't good ingredients to also build a region. And my understanding is he basically said to the OU that, you want me to do that, I will, and really it was smart. He using his greatest skill for a Klal Yisrael across the world. Really, he speaks across the world. He's amazing. But he said, but I can't build a region then. So by the time I came here to rebuild Southwest, it was almost as if the region didn't exist. I shouldn't say that, because Dallas was still kicking and strong.
From
Houston,
Data and Torch, or
no, Rabbi Lashak was overseeing it. He hired someone to do.
He hired somebody oversee the.
His name is Rabbi Michael. There was very talented. In Houston, there was some JSU clubs being ran. Also, someone very talented was Michal Jackman. And they were great, but they didn't.
He and brothers with Gabriel.
Michal's Rabbi Jackson's wife.
Oh, sorry. So
she was
Rebbitzin, yeah, she's an amazing. She's a very talented.
She was running the JSU clubs, and so like there were some great ingredients there. There were opportunities to work with something, but that was basically the entire region. Was one chapter, and then like a quasi chapter that had just been started here, and there were political factors also that had been playing in Houston at the time, and I got to come in and basically got the opportunity to feel like I was building something from scratch, because I was like I was given,
Did you work with Mrs.
I was given the
Jackson?
opportunity. Yeah, she worked for me, and it was like she was great. But I was basically given the reins to do what I want, and so like we kicked open the door. There were lots of very inspired teens who were phenomenal. And we took a chapter for like 200 kids in a couple of years to almost 2,000 kids a year.
Wow.
And it was very exciting. We opened up new chapters. San Antonio became pumping again. And like there was still a little bit there, but it was really essentially the Shul running the youth department and like being a good partner to NCSY. Like, but eventually became like a full, beautiful chapter for a while. It was like really it started to move from just being like a small Shul operation to it was able to breathe as its own chapter. And actually like very grateful to Rodfei Shalom in San Antonio, because they were extremely helpful in making that happen. And we really had like lots and lots of kids involved. It's beautiful. We also Austin is now a chapter. Denver.
Like Trap was at all help?
No, actually, I mean he'd be happy to help, but his focus was college.
Who's your man?
The person running it, her name is Emily Yaffe. A lot of that actually happened after I was gone. I was like, she was involved when I was there, but the biggest growth in that chapter, to my understanding, happened afterwards. And then what's it called? Denver was a chapter that was reborn. So
who ran Denver?
His name is Yisrael Katz. And then two people, Yisrael Katz and Yonatan Hussein. Yisrael was the director. Yonatan opened a branch in the southeast that was in partnership with H Torah, and it was beautiful, and like it was very exciting. It was energetic. It was powerful, and it got very expensive.
So you got very expensive. So like, what does that mean?
So that
financially to you.
So that's where part of this story comes in, where I don't know exactly what the major turning point was, but one of the things that was very hard for me was carrying the burden of the financial balance of the region. I'd done a lot of we went from like raising $60,000 a year to like $600,000 a year. And I was doing that while being a regional director as well at the same time, and running and managing and hiring and firing and running Shabbatons. And I had an amazing team behind me, but it was very expensive. And some of our major fundraisers also left. There were people who I trained and I worked with them, and I worked on their donors and worked on helping them to be able to raise money in their own cities, and I would handle.
So you raised almost $1 million.
I would say closer to our stronger years were like $700,000 that we'd raise in a year.
Wow.
Something like that as a team. I don't remember the precise numbers in the books, but doing that while having teammates to do it was one thing. Doing that when I didn't, so every time I had a teammate who, let's say, moved on to new opportunities, let's say like Yisrael Katz, who is now I think he's the chief fundraiser for all of H Torah. That. So when he had left, Denver, so then all of a sudden it's like this major ball gets dropped and I have to catch it. And then it happened in Houston also. I had a teammate, who was very, very strong, Sammy Susan, who was helping with fundraising. And then he took an opportunity in outside of Clay Kodesh, his
in
own
real estate,
decisions.
whatever.
Yeah. And so each time I had someone who was helping with fundraising move somewhere else. So that was another major burden that I was carrying. And, for people who know me, there were other factors that are personal that were challenging also, and just lots of different things happening at the same time, and like I gained over 100 pounds. It was crazy. My own personal finances were a mess. The region's finances even like were a mess. I felt like I was chasing my tail because as we have explosive growth in as an operation, so you have to be able to keep everything moving forward also. And I didn't. I felt like every
So
time.
did you just drop it? What did you do?
No, I didn't just drop it. I fought for years, and I kept, and we were eking by, and I think I was in a place where I was slowly becoming more and more depressed, but I wasn't aware of it. I wasn't personally aware of it. I didn't face it. I was in pain, and things were happening that were really hard for me. I was losing confidence. Here I am, it's like I felt like every time, any time that a staff member wanted to swipe a credit card and the credit card was blocked because I couldn't make the payment yet, that ate at me, and it was very hard. And like I'm not saying it was okay that happened, but that was the reality it was in, and it was like. And some of it sometimes because you have a staff member who's like a really big spender, and it's like, and you have to catch that and find it and work with them on staying within their budget. But in the meantime, the credit card still has to be paid, and then this thing happens, and this chapter director says, well, he was able to do this. Well, he didn't ask me to do it, and like it was like so then there's like
let's
the
discuss delegation for a second. Hold up.
Okay.
What do you went through this delegation issue? Because a lot of businessmen don't want to deal with that.
Okay.
We're holding is you're trying to figure out you're just getting by in these chapters, and what do you think now? Obviously, you do other things. What do you think your delegation? What did you learn from this delegation? If I can ask you.
So I mean, the things that I learned, it wasn't just delegation. Delegation was part of it. Like I mean, you have to remember, like when you're managing a team, so it's not just delegation. You're managing a budget. You're inspiring a team. You're empowering a team. Like the idea of leadership is much more than just delegation. And budget was one of the things I had to learn also. And budgeting, like oversight of budget is very difficult. We didn't have a full internal staff to take care of all of that. That was hard also. So like you have all these different factors, and I felt like
so now you're depressed when.
Sorry, if I could finish.
Yeah, you do your thing.
You know, you're good.
I didn't know you finished.
I'm glad that you're curious. That means that hopefully I'm intriguing enough.
Yeah.
So when you have all, I had like 5, 6, 7 different challenging things that I was doing at once, and there were skills that I was learning. Learning how to fundraise and to develop is a big thing. Learning how to lead is a big thing. Learning how to fire is incredibly painful, but was also a big thing. Learning how to hire is a big thing. And when all these things are happening, and I'm learning them as I go, and I'm feeling like I'm getting dug deeper, and all I just needed to, and it's like I just want to fundraise because I needed to, like, money can answer a lot of these questions. But at the same time, it was like blowing up like a balloon and losing confidence. Confidence is one of the most important factors in fundraising. When you walk into a room, if you walk in begging versus walking in and inviting, saying, I'm part of the greatest mitzvah that's in our generation. I want you to be part of it. It's a very different pitch than like, I can't make budget, please help me. Right? It's a very, very, and then your donors will lose trust in you and all those things. So I'm learning all these factors, but I couldn't keep up everything. And imagine like it's like crumbling, and you're trying to hold, and then like this thing falls, and then you grab it, and then this one falls. So like I got an amazing education. A lot of it's from losing. Like part of the greatest learning is from the mistakes that you make. It stinks, but it's the reality. But here I am, like learning how to do all these things, but I needed to pull back, and I am incredibly grateful to NCSY and the OU in general, in particular to Micha Greenland and a friend of mine, Jonah Lerner, both in leadership positions, who came to me and they said, like, I see where you're at, like you're not like Jonah flew out to Houston, and I thought I was getting fired that day. I was terrified. And they said, we know what you're capable of. Like, we know who you are, but you need to get better. Like you need to be able to heal. And they suggested that I take a leave of absence. They weren't. They were. Like I was. First of all, I was just ecstatic that I wasn't getting fired, because I thought I'm like they're like I'm not making budget. I wouldn't blame them, but instead it was this like um, reminding me that they knew who I was and they knew what I was able to do, and that they were grateful for what I had done for the organization. And I'm very proud of it. Like, it was 10 years of building a region from 2,200 to 2,000 teens, sending kids there to Israel, Yeshiva, all these things. And they said like, take some time to yourself, there's an insurance policy that helps with to an extent. And I took it, and I remember the incredible feeling. It's hard to describe, but like the next day I felt like I could breathe again for the first time, like in like years. It was years and years, and I felt like I could smile again, and I felt like I could breathe again. And the time that was my leave of absence was a really, really big time for me, because what it did was it gave me a chance to now, which is I think where you're going with a lot of your questions. You wanted to know about what I was interested in, what skills I had, where I was going with them, whether I was considering business. And during this leave of absence, I found myself exploring myself and what I'm good at, and reinventing the wheel and healing, but also taking, like, I felt like by the time I had finished that process, I was stronger than I had ever been. And it was funny because like one of the options, like the fundraising position, was still on the table for me if I wanted it. And at the time I wasn't ready to take it again. But I feel like if I had it right now, I feel like I could do twice as job as what I did before.
So what did you do when you came? So you take this leave of options. What were some of the things that you found in yourself?
So that's a good question. So I did a lot of learning, lots and lots of learning, not just Torah learning. I spent tons of time listening to podcasts and learning about different types of businesses, learning about different parts of life.
What were the different businesses that you learned?
So at first, a lot of it was more about just the bigger picture of finances and understanding money and understanding a lot of things that I didn't understand before.
Anything you can give me, or
a tip? Sure. One of them was time. Was the exceptional value of time when it comes to money. And understanding that when you make money, if you view your dollars as soldiers, as teammates, and that you can take those dollars and use them to help grow your finances, you can be in a very, very different place. And I've used this lesson to teach my kids, and help them understand, whether it's through something like just something as simple as like S&P 500. You build a portfolio of stocks, or whether it's that you're taking the money and using it to invest in your education, or let's say like on eBay, like you just learn how to sell things on eBay. Like you buy products at a garage sale for $2, $5, and then you sell it for 10. And just like learning, it's like, oh, I can transform this into something else. That was like just one example of a very big lesson that I learned. Is that if all you're doing is living off of your hours, then you're always going to be limited in your finances. If you're living off of leveraging opportunities, then the sky's the limit. And it was huge, and I was like, why didn't I see this before? So like that was an example of something that I learned.
And did you go back to NCSY at all?
I spent a year back in NCSY.
What were the changes from when you took the absent leave?
The leave of absence.
So what you didn't like. So now you see you're not the best fundraiser. Did you give that to somebody else?
So let me clarify. I think I'm quite the fundraiser. It was just that at the time it wasn't bringing joy. Just to clarify. And when I have a mission that I'm passionate about, I go after it. I can do it well, and I did it well with NCSY too. One of my first asks I ever had was I got in an airplane because I heard about someone who was potentially interested, and in my first I think it was my first real solicitation. I landed $75,000 in one ask. Said I need $25,000 a year to take so and so and turn from part time into full time. And sure, I was like, oh, I could do this, It was the situation that I was in, and the fact that I was doing 17 things at once and felt like I lost all my confidence and broke myself, made it that it wasn't a joyous thing anymore. But
Can we go right to there, because I've had it myself too,
Sure.
where you do 7 things at once and you broke yourself. I want to know, what was it feeling while you were broken yourself? That's what I want to know. You lose the passion, and when you lose the passion, now you're thinking, how much is it making me? What were like the 7 different things that broke you?
So, okay, it's a good question. So, with regards to the breaking, so part of them were personal things. My weight and my health was a very real thing. I have a kid who has special needs. That was not easy. That was actually quite a challenging part of the journey. With regards to work, there are people on my staff that were not the best type of people to have, and you have to understand, when you're working with NCSY, there's a certain level of achrayus, like a responsibility that you feel when you hire them, especially when you're out of town. You're not like in a big city where a person get a job doing something else in Clay Kodesh. They fly to your city, and they're like, you have to be ready to take them under your wing, right? Like, that doesn't mean you can't fire them, but if you do, like, this person's like dead in the water, right? And there were people on my staff who, like, I probably should have fired a long time before I did, or I got lucky enough that they left, or whatever, this or that. And sometimes it's that double-edged sword. They're incredibly talented, but just wasn't good for me. And like, I had to be very like grown up about that. Be like, just because it's not good for me, that's not fair to them. It's not fair to the organization. It's not fair to the kids. The kids are going to benefit. But there was a lot of that had also, like, been involved. And so, like, it was just factor after factor. And as I was feeling more little, it's much harder to go head to head with uncomfortable personalities too. That's one of the like, just as a side thing, it's one of the big lessons that I learned is like you really have to be okay with firing someone, and if you're not, like you just have to understand that there's consequences. It's complicated.
Everything's complicated. But going back to the year that you were there,
so all these different factors had played a role in me wanting to get away from NCSY. But then when I got to this, and I'd lost my passion, so to speak, and then. So when I had enough time to start thinking, and exploring and learning, so I just started trying lots of different things. I have a book that's like 95% done. I paused it for a while because I was in the middle of a different project, but I could come out with that book within 2 weeks.
What do you do it?
I'm thinking about doing it soon. Actually, it was about my journey, through I guess I'll call it my midlife crisis, and allowing the midlife crisis to actually become an empowering opportunity for me. I got healthier. I was exercising. I was eating better. I was talking to people, and made myself vulnerable. And got to a point where I just decided I'm not going to care what other people think anymore. You're right, and so like all these I'm trying to get to the question you're asking. Like, so what were the lessons that I was learning? I was
no, you could take it wherever you want.
So what I was learning was, if I'm too afraid to try something because of what other people are going to think, I'm not going to figure this out. And my life, my kid's life, is too important for me to. Why would I ever want to live my life based on what you think about me? I'm going to live it based on what I think about me, And that was huge. And then I started playing around with online business, and there were products
online business, and then you did this coaching stuff that I know about.
Right.
So you did some TikTok stuff.
Right.
What else?
So
the whole list.
The social media part was very interesting. So like I went out and I got pretty good at it. I have one channel. I don't use it that much anymore, but I have almost 6,000 followers.
You can write a book and then post it on the.
Yeah.
Maybe you could use it.
That's
reuse it. You can
It is the plan. It is the plan. To do something along those lines. You're right. I'd also been creating a Torah podcast. I'm like, if I'm going to develop this skill anyways, and I enjoyed it. I really loved it because it was a chance to put Torah out there. And sometimes things that I put there, I'm like, maybe 10 people.
What's it called?
It's called Revealing the Hidden. And then I actually have another one that's it's like stories with RG. It was like kid stories, like tourist
I'll have
stories.
to look them both up.
Yeah,
I
you
think
should
the
check 'em
I
out.
think the first one I have.
Yeah, I probably sent it to you, and it was
I think watch this.
surprising. There were times I sent something out, and I thought it would be like, a few listeners. All of a sudden, I'd get 100 listens just within the first day, and like I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but like
No, it's a
when
lot.
you're first getting started with a podcast and building, and all of a sudden like all these people are listening to Torah that you're sharing, it was like, oh, that's like beautiful. It's like, how often do you get to have a classroom with 100 people listening to a message that you're teaching in Torah? It's like amazing. And then like, I put something up and like, I'm like, oh, this for sure is going to be huge. And like 2 people would listen. And then I put something like, oh, I don't know if this will be, but like I can put it out there. And like, and the next day I saw like 1,000 views on this video show. I was like, okay, so it was very, very exciting for me. So like I was learning skills and I felt like I had power. And like honestly, part of that I'm still exploring. I'm still exploring different skills. Right now, one of the ones that I'm having a lot of fun with is actually government contracts.
Yeah, so can you give me a little about the government?
Sure.
First, tell me a little about your experience, if I can ask you personally, about this solar stuff. Give me a little about this journey, because you obviously understand this. Where's the money? Forget the specific company you work for, but like, where's the money in grants? Because there's one lady I actually want to introduce you to, Tamika Brown, a friend of mine who I spoke to last week about grants. What's been your experience with government grants? That where's the money that companies make it, if you understand?
So those are two different things. With regards to your solar question, I'm not going to talk too much about that. There's an endeavor that I tried, didn't work out. But essentially, they're in the world of energy. There's a couple of major problems that are out there. One of the major problems that's out there is that more energy is needed than ever before, and so the pull on the grid is so significant that there has to be a lot of creativity around it to save the grids, to save America's operation. Imagine building something that's meant for as a metaphor, that's meant for 100 people, and all of a sudden 1,000 people want to use it, or it's like 1,000 people is really 1,000,000 people are using it. And all of a sudden it has to work for everyone. And then you have an invention like a Tesla car, and all of a sudden people are using energy as opposed to gas. It's great, but you have to solve that problem too. So there's
Is the data centers solving it or not?
So data centers are their own problem, right? With AI. You can have data centers that require as much electricity as a city, an entire city. But it's like, oh no, but there's already a city here. Like, how do you do it? So there's a lot of money being thrown out from the government, and people know how to navigate it, can really take advantage of the opportunity. There's something called community solar, where there's a number of cities where you have almost like there are like massive solar fields that are created and billions of kilowatt hours that are being produced, and people can sign up to get free energy. It's sorry on it, like you have to your local companies and talk to them, but that's one of the things with energy. And then there's another thing called utility auditing that I was involved in, which is not unique to just community solar. What it is that lots of people wind up paying for things on their utilities that they're not supposed to, whether it's taxes that they're not supposed to, or whether it's let's say you have a building that's classed the wrong way, and you're using more energy, so you should be paying less. 2 cents less per kilowatt hour
versus 10 cents.
Yeah, let's say you were paying 12 and you're really supposed to be paying 10 because of the class that you're in.
So you get 2 cents.
So it adds up. It could and you can collect in certain places like as far as 6-7 years back. It could be hundreds of thousands of dollars. So there's real money to be had there. For whatever reason, it's not the endeavor that I'm involved in.
So what I'm saying is you're saying that with the government side.
So the government thing is something else. Sorry, go ahead. I cut you off. What was your
No,
question?
it's fine. The government side of you're saying that you can make money with the government as grants and what I understand now, government contracts you're very interested in now. How does a guy like me, as interested in roads and construction and real estate, or any creative personality, even myself or others, how do you use government contracts? Obviously, you found one that you were able to get approved by. How do you learn the skill that one is, yes, you can bid, that I understand is one part of that, but then there's also another part where the government gives out free money for grants.
Okay.
So where's the difference in your opinion, or that you made money on, or that you can give me some knowledge just
Sure. So I'll put a little bit of knowledge. The most basic thing I will say is that there's an unbelievable amount of information that's out there, whether it's through podcasts, like Kosher Money, it's phenomenal.
for Sam.gov.
So I'll get to that one specifically, but in general, if you want to learn where money is available or how to leverage it, if you're willing to find time to learn and be dedicated to it, there's an incredible amount that's out there, and there's millions and billions of dollars to be made. And that's number one. Is that this one podcast, for example, that we're having. It's not specific to like the entire system of SAM.gov and government contracts, but there are hundreds of them that are out there, and you can learn pretty quickly. And part of the learning is listening, and then it's doing. It's like, don't be afraid to try, because if you're afraid to try, then a million ideas are going to sit in your head, and none of them will ever come to life. You have to jump in a little bit, and like, if you're willing to jump into an idea that sounds interesting, you'll learn pretty quickly whether or not it's built for you or not. Like coaching is something that actually I jumped into, and I was like fascinated with. It happens to be I'm a pretty good coach, but like, it was something that I explored. I'm like, okay, that's a new skill set that I have in my back pocket that I could utilize to monetize. It's not what I'm doing right now. It's not my focus, but it was okay. Now I know that works. eBay.
I even learned something from you, with the coaching stuff.
100%.
You make videos with the coaching stuff.
Yes.
That's cool.
So that was my own personal touch on it. Was making these dream
Whatever.
reels.
You made one for me, but I'm saying more AI stuff is you have to touch it up with every.
Right.
How does AI go into making money, if I can ask you?
So I'll so with regards to to the dream reels, I took the idea of coaching, and then I put my own personal spin on it. And I used AI to build out these vision dreams that people of what people want. Like I'll have an intake session with them, and they'll describe their interests and their wants and what their dreams are, and I put them together and fed it into AI and got a good prompt to create a like one of these movies, and then I put my own personal touch on it.
Did you use a specific app that you could recommend?
I used Gamma.ai is really good. But again, with any of these, you have it's about practicing and not being afraid to try. So someone might enjoy using Claude better, or ChatGPT better, or using Canva for design. But it's like you'll find your own mix with that, like as you spend put time into it. With regards to the government contracts, so that was something that I was exploring and trying, and I'm actually really enjoying it right now. What it is that there's a website called sam.gov, and all the government contracts that need to be fulfilled basically across the country are out there, billions and billions and billions of dollars. And a lot of them are set aside for small businesses even. And what you do is you go online and you look for a job that you want to potentially do, and you submit a bid. It's quite easy with AI to make sure that you're not missing details. You run the information through and say, what is it that they want? What are the keys here? You can even look up online what people have paid for this job in the past, so you know how much to bid. And I think the numbers are staggering. Something like 40% of government contracts that are won with one bid. So you think about what that means. One with one bid, 40% of them. It's like billions of dollars are out there, and you have to be able to figure out whether or not you can fulfill what they want. And it doesn't even have to be you. Let's say there's a janitorial contract out in Yehotitzville, Oklahoma. So you find the company in
How would you do that
Oklahoma.
for me, with not being able to understand how to use it? Let's just say somebody doesn't know how to use it, SamGov, but they're a connector, right? I'm a good connector, right? So that was my issue. I went on a little bit, tried finding it, and then I could screenshot it, but I don't really know how to use the thing. So how would you, let's just say Gershie knows, Louis knows how to connect people. He knows how to find. What would Gershie recommend? Let's just say today we were to go on sam.gov.
So what I would say is like this. What you potentially could do is you find a partner. Say like, I'm good at finding people who could do stuff. You're good at finding. You're good at computers. You can look through contracts. I'm gonna let's come up with a list of 10 different things that the government might want, and we'll partner. You look for jobs that are out there. I'll look for the contractor or the subcontractor that will hire, and then we put the bid together. So, like for example, the one you were helping me with was
food.
Kosher food.
We looked into
right?
kosher food.
I found a kosher contract online for a prison.
How did that go? And then
I actually wound up winning a bid for one thing only. It was tuna, and believe it or not, with all the different catering people that I worked with, the cheapest tuna that I found for what they wanted was on Walmart. And so I wound up buying in mass on Walmart, and it wasn't a huge contract. I made like $300 on the whole thing, but it was a learning experience for me. Now I know how
you
to
can do it again,
right? But
are you working on it now?
But in theory, so I'll give you an example. Let's say I find another kosher food contract. If we were working together on it, so then I'd say, hey Louis, you find me the best price on these objects. You have 3 days to do it because I have to submit the bid in 4 days. Go call whoever you want. These are the product exactly. I need proof that it's kosher. I need to know what they're going to charge, and then we'll add 10% to it.
Is there any other website besides sam.gov that you've found on kosher money?
Not for this. This is government contracts. There are other websites out there. There are accounts out there for other types of.
Any you could recommend?
I don't remember what it's called. My brother actually uses one of them. I can check after the podcast for you. But it's for other businesses that also are looking.
And what about auctions that you were discussing earlier? What would you recommend? Because I was talking with Ari Winkler, who does Amazon stuff, and I was listening to this guy Dave, and I was like, Ari, you can make so much money, right? The eBay auctions. So there's eBay auctions. There's government auctions.
So I haven't played with the auction option, but if let's say I was in my leave of absence stage where I was really not working during the day, that's probably something that I would explore these days. A lot of people that are on the social media space talking about business will talk about how auctions is probably the next big version of what's it called of the big fad. Drop shipping was something where when people got in at the right time, they made a huge amount of money.
And crypto for my boy Yossi Azula.
Crypto's another.
We did a pod 4 weeks ago.
So this is one of those really popular ones that is when you go to online bidding. So the money moves fast and moves hard. And if you're the kind of guy who can find things that people want to get rid of, and you do them a favor, you really could do them a favor. Say hey, can I go through your garage? I want to pull out 100 things that you're not going to want, or I'll pull 10 things out that you don't want, or make a pile of 20 things you don't want. I'll come pick them up, if you want to sell it to me, $1 or $2 a piece, I'll do that. If you honestly, if it's people that and they want to get rid of their stuff, you're doing them a favor. They might give it to you for free. They get a bunch of t-shirts, and you throw out the ones that aren't worth it or donate them to Goodwill, and the ones that are nice, you put them online and you sell them for $10, $15, and all of a sudden you're gonna make a bunch of money. Auctions are a specific type of that sale that I haven't explored so much, but it looks like it's one of those that's worth.
What is AI doing from the sam.govs? What is the AI doing, if I can ask you? And then I have 2 more questions. What is AI doing
for sam.gov?
Sam.gov or just generally, where have you used AI? If I can ask you?
I will tell you like this. One of the things that AI does is that it can help weed through things. If let's say ChatGPT or Claude or one of these systems gets to know you, which they do, and you say, this is my website, get to know it well, and you interact with it over time. These are the types of things that I'm good at. These are the things I'm not. So I can then go onto sam.gov and say, hey, this looks like an interesting contract, and then I'll take it and I'll copy paste it and I'll upload it to Claude. is this something that we can bid on? And they'll be like, no, you can't bid on this one because this one requires more than 50% of the work being done with by a person themselves. You can't subcontract it out. Save me a ton of money.
Right, but I'm saying if you could subcontract it, right, to my boy Simcha, Simcha, let's just say Simcha Breslov for gloves, or my boy Shalom Zions,
right,
for let's just say whatever specific road stuff he likes to do, right, and my boy Yossi Friedman and Yehuda Bolzum for plumbing or whatever, or you were talking floors or whatever. They do different things. So my question is, where have you learned?
So a lot. So no. So I'm saying, so part of what AI helps me with is to know whether or not this is a good contract for me to bid on or not, right? And part of it's also like I'll throw a bunch of them out there, be like, hey, can you keep a record? Like I want to bid on this one, but it's not due till July 30th. So remind me in a couple of days. Let's work on a different one for now. Help me find 3 janitors in janitorial companies in Alabama, so that I can ask them if they'd be willing to give me a bid on this contract. So it shortens a lot of the work. It reads through the fine print. Hey, is there something like take a look at this contract that I just filled? What did I miss? Is there something I forgot? It's very helpful like that. You have to be willing to put in the work and do the reading as well. But a lot of times, like it'll just cut out like what would have taken me 10 hours to do, it'll do it in 2 minutes for me. It'll read through the entire contract. This is the only page that you have to fill out. These are the main things you have to fill out. You should note that this one requires blah blah blah, or this is just a request for a proposal. You don't actually have to send it in yet. Would you like me to send an email? Yes, I would. And then it prepares the email. And then I send it out, and then it's asking for the opportunity to bid.
What's your favorite platforms to use?
So I found that for this, I'm enjoying Claude a lot. I've been finding it to be very intuitive and very helpful. I haven't for creating cool, pretty proposals, not for SAM.gov, but let's say for professional meetings. I'm finding Gamma to be very, very dynamic and creative, and just high level professional. And then there's the classic ChatGPT, which is kind of people kind of have left it, but I think in some ways it's still the best.
Okay, what are the top 5 books that you would recommend? It could be Jewish or non-Jewish. 5, 10.
It's interesting.
Even with the one you're writing, that we're gonna hold you accountable to finish that.
It's called Activate. Yeah. You won't be sorry with that one. I find it's about utilizing your challenges to help you rise.
Activate. What is gonna be your?
That's the name of the book. It's called Activate. Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to read it.
I'm excited for you too, as well. It's
funny.
Obviously,
yeah.
It's funny because I never thought that my first book that I would publish would be a secular book. I thought it'd be a Jewish one.
Okay.
But it's still about personal growth and transformation. I would call it more in the space of mitzvah and kiddush Hashem as opposed to Torah. But that one, and then.
Obviously,
but as far as books, that's
so now. It's obviously Chumash you like.
Yeah,
anything.
I can't do them together. If you want my secular books, I'll do secular.
Do secular.
Secular books. Atomic Habits is still my number one.
I love it.
Atomic Habits is phenomenal. But Atomic Habits is a book you have to live with. You can't just read it. Because it teaches you that you can change your whole life with small actions.
You have to read the book I'm reading now.
If you don't,
1,000.
What's it called? If you don't, which book?
The one I have in Hamish.
I'm excited to read it. But if you don't actually,
it's called 1,000 Homes by Mitch Stevens. That one.
Oh, cool. So I'm excited to read that. I find that Atomic Habits is an action book. If you don't actually act on it, then there was a waste. Because the whole point is small, consistent actions, and if you don't do it, what are we doing here? What a waste. The next would be Harry Potter.
Harry Potter is
I
good
love
series.
Harry Potter. It's just enjoyable. It's it's clean, fun. The story is timeless, and the happen to be a big fan of J.K. Rowling's story. The fact that someone started with like from a place where she felt like she lost everything, or she didn't have anything and she was broken, and wound up changing her whole life. And like I hate how so many people came to bash her. I think she's a phenomenal person in a lot of ways. But I think that her story is very inspiring, and like you can go from zero to like be one of the richest, most influential people in the world. And you never know. But the book itself is just fun. It's like the best. Okay, what else? You asked my favorite 5 books. So
It could be anything.
Okay.
It's
The next one wouldn't be a book. It's actually a podcast. It's Kosher Money. Both from a tourist standpoint, I think it's also very valuable. But even from a business transformation standpoint, to find something that you like what Kosher Money does different than other podcasts is that it's like for people who are in the religious Jewish world, it's real life versions of what you're seeing.
one more.
Yeah, if you see someone like a Cody Sanchez or some of these other podcasts that are great, but sometimes it feels a little bit unrealistic, or they don't understand that if you don't make $200,000 a year, you can't survive as a religious Jew. It's very hard. It's like it's a different perspective. When you're listening to people who understand our Jewish world and the financial challenges that come with it, it's very different. And then you also have the hashkafic considerations, and those are in there as well. Yeah, so I'll give you those 3 for now. I think
That's fine. I have one more question that I'll finish off with. What's been your journey with children, halachic, and schooling? Chinuch versus schooling.
That's interesting. So I would say that could be a five part series that would only scratch the surface. But I'll tell you one thing that I think is very key, or 2 things. Number 1 is joy. Is that no matter what the system is, if you forget that joy about your Yiddishkeit is if you forget to add that as an ingredient, don't expect anything from anyone. Don't expect your kids to go in it. Don't expect yourself to be passionate about it. If you're not enjoying it, just from even from a just secular standpoint, forget about the religious standpoint. How could you expect someone to keep doing something for 80 years of their life based on guilt? And the devotional wants us to be happy. It's just Shem B'Simcha, right? The Lubavitcher Rebbe has an amazing calculation on this based on the Rambam. He says that we have 2 principles. One is B'chol Derechecha De'ehu, that in all your ways you have to know God. And then you also have you to serve Hashem with joy. So if you have to serve God with everything, and you have to be joyous in your service, that means at all moments you should be happy. He quotes a Zohar that says that if you're happy, then it'll bring down more blessing, right? It's such an incredible tool. It's Poretz Getter. It breaks down all doors. And if you approach Yiddishkeit in life with joy, Tracht B'Tvet, sign good, you think good, and it'll be good. It's like it's everything. So that's number 1. The other thing that and for your kids, if they're enjoying their Yiddishkeit, then of course they're going to want to be part of it. And whether it's in school or not. And then the other thing that I've come to really, really appreciate is attention. Is the greatest in our generation, one of the biggest challenges that we're going to have, and our kids are going to have even harder than us, is making sure that attention is available. We're so sucked in to our phones and to our digital devices that watch it yourself.
So I got to interrupt you there because I didn't want to. I do.
Please.
I have one more on that.
Yeah.
So wait a second. Are you going to tell me productivity, finding the next thing? Do you think finding the next thing keeps people off their phones and off their cameras and off their TV screens, or do you think it's how much versus action versus what productivity they put in their life, or do you think it's that they have to be passionate about or being either making money from something, like in your journey as a person, obviously.
Yeah, you're asking good. I'll explain to you the Muslim. If anyone ever watches you daven, right? It's an incredible thing to watch. And I don't mean to embarrass you, but the way that you're zoned into your relationship with God is something that people try an entire lifetime to get, and you can create it in 2 minutes time. I've seen it. Now imagine introducing a screen to that experience. What a tragedy for the whole world if Louis didn't have the davening that he had, right?
I don't know what you mean. I don't do
in the middle of trying to have that conversation with God, you were also looking at your phone and saying, "Hold on one second," right? During
I
moment,
can't. The thing is, it could take me a whole day to get me to the mood. But once I'm in the mood, it could be literally 60 seconds. I could be having a conversation with somebody, and I've had it with my Rabbi Oberland.
Right.
He was like, we were talking about coffee, straight into 200 people having a meeting. Like for me, I could be literally schmoozing with you 1 second.
Yeah.
Next second later, I'm saying Parshas.
I can tell you that's right.
It's. I can't really explain that feeling. That feeling is it's a zone. You could be chilling the whole day,
right,
and sitting in the mess of your life of not wanting to get up. Even yesterday, I didn't want to get till 6 p.m. I get up, I go. It takes me an hour or two. It can take you a whole day, but once you get in that zone, you put on tefillin, you get there to davening, and for me, it's like my trials and tribulations. Personally, is the reason why I sit on my phone and watch videos is because it's one after the next after the next. It's just like, but today, yes, I did wake up at 6, but then you have to like snap yourself out of it the same way. So my point is that for me, I can't speak for anyone else. In my journey, it's you gotta snap into the zone right away. I could be chill for hours. In a split second, I'm fully passionate.
So you actually, in some ways, express what I was trying to express even better. When I talk about attention, yes, like life is hard and crazy, and like let's say you're trying to reinvent yourself in business, and you're completely sucked into, let's say like your new business or your new idea or your podcast or whatever it is. So I'm not saying that shouldn't continue. It should. But the zone that you're describing, your kids need that zone too. It's a different version of that. It's just playing. Like if you're with a friend, one of the greatest gifts that you can give them is just being there with them, with a child or with a spouse or with with Hashem. The most valuable thing that you can provide is yourself, is being there. And if you're split, then they lose that. They don't have that. You know that with me, by the way. You know how hard it is sometimes to get 5 minutes with me because I'm like so focused on the next thing, and it's I hate that challenge that I go through, but part of it's because when I am with someone, I'm totally there. I had a meeting this morning. I thought it was going to be an hour. Wound up being 2.5 hours. But we were I was fully immersed in that experience with him, with that conversation that I was having. It was really, really important. And he was able to have me. And every person that the Rebbeinu Shalom sends in this world has a job, as something. And as long as we're sucked into our phone, then we're literally stealing those hours that could be hours that we're involved in life. And so for the places that attention is important, whether it's another person, a friend, even your own books, your own reading, your own work, like if you can't do that because your phone is pulling it away, you're stealing yourself from the world.
Thank you, Gershie, for this video.
Pleasure. How long is it?